Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing dumper thoughts if they see their dumpee after a breakup. I provide audio coaching to help people try and get their ex back or get a new girlfriend or boyfriend. Check out my website for more details. www.dateme.tips. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing dumper thoughts if they see their dumpee after a breakup. So if you have been dumped, you might wonder how your ex would react if they saw you in person. In today's podcast, I'm going to explain 3 potential thoughts and reactions that a dumper might showcase if they were to see their dumpee in person. This would be based on the theoretical possibility of you bumping into your ex at random and not due to an arranged meet. So let's get straight into this, and number 1 is cold and awkward. Unfortunately for dumpees, one of the most common reactions that they might expect and feel if they was to bump into their former partner is cold and awkward. The thought process for a dumper to come to this decision is based on feeling uncomfortable. If the dumper does not feel comfortable in your presence, then they will likely behave in a way which could be deemed as cold and awkward. Some dumpees would describe this as seeing their ex in a way that they don't recognise. It almost feels like that their dumper is looking straight through them. It almost feels like that they're looking at their dumper and it isn't the person they used to know. It isn't the person that they was once in a relationship with. I once heard somebody describe this thought process as seeing their ex the dumper, and it almost seemed like it looks like them, but it is as if that an alien spaceship had come across, took them up into space and put somebody down that looks like them but isn't them. It was a situation where they felt like, although it looked like their ex, it wasn't their ex. That is a very good way, I feel, of explaining this feeling of when a dumper is showcasing cold and awkward behaviours towards the dumpee. As I said, this is often due to the case that the dumper feels uncomfortable. The dumper ended the relationship, and in their thought process, they don't want to be around the dumpee at this time. They are feeling like they've gone through an awkward situation. Ending a relationship is never easy. Whatever a dumpee might think, the dumper would likely have gone through a lot of stress and turmoil in their own mind about how, if and when this breakup was going to occur. And then when it did, the last thing that the dumper wants is to be bumping into their ex the dumpee when they're not expecting it, when they're not wanting it. Because the dumper doesn't know how the dumpee will respond. The dumper doesn't know what to expect, how the dumpee will react. And they might be feeling like, we're in public here. I don't want any drama. I don't want any problems. I'm quite self-conscious of this situation. And this can resonate itself as the dumper showcasing a cold exterior. It is like they are an ice queen or an ice man. Somebody who seems to have very little emotion, looking straight through the dumpee, might feel as if the dumper doesn't recognise them by their behaviour. Unfortunately for dumpees, this is quite a common situation that they might experience if and when they bump into their ex, the dumper, and it's very important that the dumpee behaves in the appropriate way to move forward from this situation so they don't make matters worse. When something doesn't feel right, the key is to not make things any worse, and then you can always build on this moving forward with positivity. Because if you leave your ex the dumper with positive thoughts, even if those positive thoughts are just on the basis that you remained emotionally stable, stable-minded, you didn't cause a scene or a problem, this will work in your favour. You never know. It could be the first building block of success of regrowing romantic emotional attraction in your dumper's mind. I will be explaining at the end of today's podcast what I suggest you do if and when you bump into your ex unexpectedly. So now let's move into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast about dumper thoughts if they see their dumpee after a breakup. And point number 2 is polite and friendly. So another strong possibility of what a dumpee might encounter if and when they bump into their ex is their dumper behaving in a polite and friendly way. Now this can be sometimes misconstrued as something more so than just being friendly. It's very important that a dumpee doesn't jump to conclusions just because their ex-dumper has acknowledged them and been positive and friendly. This might mean that the dumper smiles, they might ask a few questions, they might engage in a level of conversation. It's very, very important that a dumpee in this situation is positive back, responds, and always keeps in mind that this doesn't necessarily mean that their ex wants to get back together. You always have to remember that if you have been dumped, what you are looking for is unnecessary contact from your ex. Now, if you have passed your ex in the street, if you have to stand near them at a bus stop, if you're in this type of situation, your ex-dumper might behave in a positive way, but this is just because they feel it's necessary. We are looking for unnecessary contact. If your ex smiles at you, speaks with you, this doesn't count as unnecessary. If you are in close proximity, they might deem this as being polite. They might deem this as sensible social etiquette. You don't know for certain. And if you were in this position, I suggest you go through the interaction with as much positivity as possible. But always remember to yourself that you are looking for that unnecessary contact, and that will come after this connection. So you have met up with your ex in an unexpected way right now. If they are interested in taking things further, they will likely contact you after this interaction. So please make sure that although you can enjoy the interaction for what it is, don't take it for more than what it might be. If your ex doesn't contact you again after you've spoken the street, after you've seen each other at the bus stop, then this would suggest that they don't want to take things further, but they are being polite, they are being respectful, they are being friendly. They hold you in a high position in their mind, but only in regards to platonic friendship or acquaintancy. So if you want to try to get your ex back, don't trip yourself up by thinking, oh gosh, they've spoke to me, they've smiled, they want me back. And don't start bombarding them with contact. Don't start chasing. This is not a sign. The sign you're looking for is unnecessary contact. And if you see your ex out and about, this doesn't count as that. They might just see it as social etiquette. So now let's move into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast of dumper thoughts if they see their dumpee after a breakup. And point number 3 is extreme reaction. So the least likely reaction a dumper will have if they see you in person is an extreme reaction. This could be extremely positive or extremely negative. Very rarely, a dumper might be overly positive or even flirty, potentially asking to have a planned meet sometime soon, or exchanging new contact details. Linked to this is the rare possibility of a dumper apologising for their actions and occasionally becoming emotional. On the other side of a coin, there is the possibility that your ex might behave extremely badly in a very negative way. They might be arguing, shouting, screaming, or being abusive. These reactions are rare, but not unheard of. This is why it's so important to follow my suggestions if you happen to bump into your ex. You never know how they will react and what they are thinking. And hence it's always best to acknowledge your ex, but then continue. Don't be awkward or try to hide. Instead, smile, say hello, and then continue on your journey. The only reason to do anything different is if your ex stops you in a positive way and instigates positive conversation. If they don't do this, you shouldn't stop or stand near them, just keep going on your way. If you have to be in the same place, such as a bus stop, then try your best to stand away from your ex unless it's clear that they want to be near you. The challenge is to do this without looking awkward. You always want to be coming across as happy, carefree, and fun. That is the challenge. The exception to all of this is if you know for certain that your ex will have an issue with you acknowledging them. If you know this isn't sensible, then cross the road and avoid your ex completely. This is particularly important after a volatile breakup or if you have a restraining order from seeing your ex. Always use your common sense and avoid conflict and drama. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.
Yeah, if you miss your ex, we can help with that. Help you get him back, or we can help find you someone else. Yeah, Vincent, the relationship coach, giving you some insight, bringing you a new approach. DateMe.tips, go and check the site, giving you advice, helping with your love life. Get your ex back, or move to the next. Ain't no sweat, you know Vincent got you. Finding love ain't no problem. Yeah, DateMe.tips, check it out now.